All right, hello again. Elliot here from the Goldworks workflow. We are going to just get some jobs done, and you're just going to watch me if you want. That's what we're going to do. Building a fairly simple engagement ring that I've got all the specs set up for. It's honestly as simple as can be. He wants something really smooth and straight lines, princess cut. Yeah, you will just see how it goes. I don't really need to show you the picture. It will just come together. One thing I wish, oops, I need the head builder back. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is not off to a smooth start here. Okay, there we go. I usually have all this set up on another screen, so it's like throwing me off to have it all on one screen. Oy, okay. So I've got some pre-made heads here, obviously. This is kind of my go-to head. I think we're gonna have two rails. Here's a bummer about the head builder. Maybe in Matrix Gold they've updated this, but when you scale the size of the claw, it scales the size of the rails. And I always end up with these big fat rails that I gotta deal with separately. Like, I mean, this is some major first world problems that I'm talking about, but you know, when you do enough rings, it just sucks a little bit. But that's okay. We just come in here, select our rail level, tweak them down, have them don't leave extra material that you don't really need in there. A medium thickness, nothing too thick, nothing too thin. Usually want your claw 0.8 to 1.2. This is a 6 mil stone, so it's a pretty good size stone. That's about where you want it. That's sort of the range. A little bit of curvature. I don't like the claws straight like that very often. This sort of helps if the stone's got a bit of a belly, which most of them do, especially modern moissanites, man. Oval moissanites, what's going on with you lately? We even had some bunch of pear-shaped moissanites. They've been really kind of fat on the bottom, and I don't know why they're cut like that. But all right, this is a good start. I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm going to fillet the top of these claws. 0.2 is probably, that's my kind of go-to fillet. It's sunken into the stone a little bit more than I would set it up to 3D print with, but enough to look good in the render. And that's a nice bread and butter basket, 2-rail. Pardon the people that really know what they're talking about. If that's technically not a basket, if there's something about that that doesn't make it a basket, my apologies. Shank thickness, 1.5, 1.8. So 1.5 to 1.8, I'm going to consider like middle of the road. That's sort of the Goldilocks zone. 2 mils getting, definitely heavy in most cases. But for most engagement rings that are everyday stuff, 1.5, and I'm talking this through finger thickness here, obviously. 1.5 to 1.8, unless they want something extra big or extra thin. You can kind of use that as a reference. The customer has 2 accent stones that we want to put in illusion settings. They are 2.7 mil. And I'm just going to build this manually. There would be a few ways to. Is there a illusion plate builder? Not really. Not really. So I'm just using offset and, oops, don't know why that didn't have a cap on it, but this tool here, they taught me this when I very first started. Surface inset, select surface, select curve. Yeah, depth. Yeah, that's a tool that will do what I'm going to do. But I found it wasn't really consistent. It wasn't great on curved surfaces. It just was a little finicky. And one day somebody showed me like this is what the function is just doing. Ah, oh my God. Okay, this error. This has been persistent. A lot of people have run into this. I've got a new way of getting rid of it. I'm going to come here to the job bag manager. I'm going to import. Now there's extra jobs on here because I have two computers running and two of those are from jobs that my design partner Kelsey had built. I'm going to import them. And then this is the problem one. And it says, hey, blah, blah, blah. We're confused about this file. Hit delete. And it'll do some thinking. Try not to click on anything because it's prone to crash at this moment. And then we'll come see it's a little bit unresponsive. And there it is. Now let's try to throw something in there. And now it works. I was taught originally just to rename the file, and sometimes that worked, and sometimes it doesn't. So that sucks. So that is a way that will fix it every time. I don't know the cause of the error. I've talked to some very high up people in GemVision about it for many years, and they're all just like, I don't know, never heard of it. But some people definitely have that weird. It's when you create a new file, create a new job bag, and you go to put something in it, and it doesn't cooperate. So check this. Let me make these a little bit brighter colors so we can see what's going on. I'm just simply, there's a million ways to throw a curve on a surface. Obviously, we have a very simple shape here, so it's like easy as pie that I can take the outer shape, offset it in. But we've got curves in both places, and we've got this inner surface. And I'm just going to drag this down to the depth I want, and I'm going to loft those. And it's just, for me, a quicker and more controlled way to do a nice inset. And the other nice thing is I can, I can just scale that up. Let's throw, I want 4 prongs on this. I'm just going to use a head builder without a rail. Rail count 0. And there we go. Job bag that. All right, back to my favorite function. I'm going to cage edit this guy. I can also at this with this cage edit, I can also throw a bit of a taper on it. Whenever you're cage editing, grab 2 and then grab the bottom one, and that's how you can, get a nice gradual taper. And the benefit of cage edit is that let's say you want it a little bit wider in the back. You've just got so much control. I don't want that, which is why I love it so much. And I use it a lot. Some people may call it cheating. I am totally cool with that. Here's my favorite outside ring rail. Give it 10 points. I don't know why. 10 seems like the magic number where it can, keep a nice, you always want as little points as possible with being able to, still get the desired shape that you want. And 10 is just the magic number for some reason. So Simple. Oh, okay. I have solid off. I want solid on. That is what the customer wants. Simple. Simple as can be. Boolean difference with those two heads. Clean up my mess in the middle. Oh, we got a little bit of mess inside here. Yoink, yoink. Cut to ring rail. And here's another trick I like to do. I don't know if any of you have seen this tool where you grab, oops, what do we got going on? Locked layer, there's your problem. Come in here to settings, we've got pull object to rail. And the way they teach it to you is you grab your setting and you pull it to the rail, and that's great. It curves it nice and easy, very handy tool. I don't like this top rail curved. So I will grab these three and then do that. And that's much better looking. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we want a nice soft, a very light fillet on the top and these sides. I don't think there's any benefit to having, let's go ahead, let's taper those. And then I want this one and this one to be much stronger. Now, I can't do those separately because as soon as I do it this direction isn't going to want to fill it. So we'll come here and we'll see I can manually drag this. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Let's 0.36 and then let's grab this one and then let's 0.36. Enter. Very nice. And for me, it's less clicks to chop this guy in half than it is to go in and fillet that other, do the same thing to the other side. And you may ask, why did you build two and then just delete one and then make another one to the other side? You know, when you have mirror set up in your macro pad, when you have a mirror and rotate and everything in your macro pad in your left hand, where it's literally just like 2 clicks, it's just, you know, it's a flash, it's a blink of the eye to mirror it, and it lets you visualize better, right? You know, we're just designing on the fly, and yeah, I'm happy with that. Here's my, and we're going to do a very basic render. Here's my system. We'll do ground plane, throw the sleeve in there. The sleeve already, it's basically in a file that you can't see that I just dragged in here. It already has the materials applied to it, and it will save that as a 3DM by itself. So it's got the material applied. We want gray, white, black, you know, go easy on the black, be selective on the black. You know, ground planes, we don't want anything too colorful. We don't want anything too distracting. You know, if we're doing something crazy for fun or for show or for whatever, go nuts. But if the goal of what we're doing is to convey to a customer what this ring is going to look like, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, for sure. No, silly, no. Nobody's calling anybody stupid around here. We're all just learning. Keep it simple, yo. KISY. Kissy, yeah. Kissy. Okay, another trick. Let's get the Z cage edit and let's grab that top and let's bend it in just a little bit. Just to look a little bit more realistic. You see what's going on there. Oops. Okay, I think we've got, did I apply all the materials? I think so. Did I remember to do the stones? Let's double do it just in case. I'm too busy chatting with you to remember what I'm doing, paying attention to what I'm doing here. I'm usually listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos or something while I'm doing this. Little bit of an angle. Nice. Easy peasy. If you want to get real fancy, you can extract those inner surfaces, give them a tiny bit of a brush finish. I don't think we need to sweat it in this situation. I'm going to pause this to save it. All right, so we're gonna, now that everything's applied, we're gonna throw it in a master, and we're gonna copy, rotate it so that it looks like it's touching. You know what? This render was so quick. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna deck this render out a little bit. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna use depth of field. That I find there's a bunch of photography features that can help make things look realistic and cool. This one is the simplest and I think does the best job and is kind of the quickest. So I've got my scene edited, so it's already got some depth of field, but I'm going to show you how to manually do it. I don't have fantastic luck doing it any other way. So I'm just going to come in here into camera, turn the depth of field on. This is how strong it is, your subdivision here. So 6 is nice. It's a nice soft effect. I'm going to turn it to like a 7 just to exaggerate it just a little bit. And here's the key to the operation, a hidden function, set viz focal point right there. Viz set focus point. You have to be in the correct perspective viewport, and then you get a little dot here, and this is where you're going to focus. So if you want to focus on this one or this one, let's focus on the front one. So we'll focus on the stone. That's the most logical place to do it. Let's take this and let's move it. Oops. Let's move this back just a little bit and render. I render by 1280 by 7. Okay, that background's too dark for what I would like to do. Let's do something white and reflective. Actually, no, sometimes that's a little harsh. Let's do a blur. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. Little harsh, but this will show what I'm trying to do well. Okay, one thing you'll notice, render is taking 10 times longer than usual. That's all the math that it has to do to make this depth of field work. I'm going to pause it for a second and pull the finished cake out of the oven shortly here. Ta-da! It's kind of faint. Maybe I should crank up the depth of field. Okay, pause. Okay, so I changed things around a little bit. I set the focus point on the rear one because I figured it would make a stronger effect, so you can tell. I also pumped the subdivisions up to 9, and now you can kind of see a lot more clearly how there's way more difference, or the depth of field effect is a lot stronger. You can tone it down for a more subtle look, which usually looks better. You don't want to make something blurry and send it to the customer, but if you're doing some nice renders or you got a really primo piece that you're wanting to, do some killer renders, this is what I like to use. So it's just about done. I'm going to keep it riding, keep it going instead of pausing it. All right, that's pretty much it for, oh no, I got to do one more thing. One more thing really quickly. Okay, so the customer wants to see it with a 6 mil and a 6.5 mil. And this should be a very easy change. I can MSR this up a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab the setting head. I'm just going to 3D scale it. And then I'm going to 2D scale it till it's sitting about the same amount into the claws before. I don't need to make it a lot taller, but I want to make it a hair taller. Just lift that up. I'm going to also just scale this 1D down a little bit too so that I can bring this up. You might be, if you're really picky, you might be saying like, oh, that's like not perfect anymore. You scaled it. It is close enough. It's, we're talking tiny, tiny little differences that it's like one swipe of the sandpaper and it'll be gone. I'm going to split this in the bottom and then I'm going to just rotate it out. That needed barely anything. I probably didn't even have to do that, but that's okay. It's a technique I wanted to show you. And then I will change the color of this shank so I can kind of tell which one's which. And then I will bring this guy out, throw the ground plane up again. And because I MSR'd that stone, I'm going to group these, make it a little bit easier to click on. Now, because I MSR'd that center stone, it already has the materials applied, which saves me a quick little step. So I can just scale it, and all of this has the material applied already. So it's ready to render at this point. I'm going to come here and turn my depth of field off because I'm not messing with that anymore. And just have these set up so that they're close together so that the customer can more clearly see, they can just clearly see the difference between the two sizes. Um, I will also throw them on the sleeve so that I can render them side by side, which I like as well. Kind of an angle like this. And that's a good way to show the difference as well. All right, easy peasy, nothing to it. I hope you learned something. If you didn't, that's fine. We had a good time together. We had some time. All right, Amade.